My parents dragged me by the hair out of the party as my water broke. Your brother wedding matters Stella.my dress was soaked in blood and water, and yet, my mother still whispered through clenched teeth, don't you dare ruin your brother's day. My knees gave in, but before I could fall, my father grabbed my hair and yanked me back like I was trash they didn't want guests to see. No one moved. No one cared. I was screaming in pain, but all they saw was an inconvenience, collision. If this shocked you, trust me, you haven't heard anything yet. Like, share, subscribe. This story will make you rethink everything about family. Let's continue. The ballroom lights sparkled above the perfectly decorated hall. People laughed, danced, clicked selfies, all pretending like I didn't exist. I stood at the corner, my back aching, feet swollen, and baby kicking inside like he already knew he wasn't welcome here. It was my brother's wedding, and my parents had made it very clear, I was just here to smile and disappear. 6 months ago. I was the golden child. Good grades, full scholarship, and engaged to a man my parents had handpicked. But when I found out the truth, that he was cheating on me with my own cousin, and I exposed him, my parents flipped. They called me the disgrace. You broke the engagement, not him. You humiliated us, they said. And just like that, I was outcast. And when I found out I was pregnant a month later, it wasn't even a scandal to them. It was proof I had no value anymore. So here I was, 9 months along, still forced to attend a wedding where I wasn't wanted. I tried to sit quietly, but the pain started building. Contractions, sharp and terrifying. I whispered to my mom, it's happening. I need to go to the hospital. She didn't even look at me. She smiled at a guest, leaned toward me, and muttered, don't you dare make a scene. The next contraction made me scream. Everyone turned. My father stormed toward me and hissed, outside. Now. I begged. I cried. I was scared. But he didn't care. He grabbed me by the arm first. I tripped. Fell. My water broke right there. On the marble floor, in the middle of a luxury wedding. Gasps. Silence. Then my mother's face turned cold as stone. Take her out. Now. And as they dragged me out, holding my hair like I was some wild animal, I made a silent promise to myself. This moment would not break me. This was not the end. It was the beginning. They dumped me in the back seat of our old Toyota like I was luggage. No questions. No comfort. Just angry whispers about how I'd embarrassed them in front of the whole business community. My father slammed the door so hard the car shook. I curled up, holding my belly, crying from pain and betrayal. My mother sat in front, fixing her lipstick in the mirror, not even glancing back. At the hospital, they didn't come inside. Not even when the nurse asked for a guardian. They said they had to get back before the cake cutting. I gave birth alone, screaming through the pain with no hand to hold, no family beside me. Just cold walls, a buzzing light, and the sound of my son crying for the first time. He was tiny, warm, and he looked up at me like I was his entire world. And right then, I made another promise, he will never know the pain I felt. Ever. For the next year, I vanished from everyone's life. No calls. No messages. I didn't even bother telling them his name. They didn't care. They told relatives I ran away with some loser. The truth? I was building something. Every night, after feeding my son, I'd work on my laptop, coding, researching, designing. I used the last $500 in my account to launch a website that connected single moms to remote jobs. I called it MomShift. Nobody believed in it. Nobody even knew it existed until one day, it went viral. I was featured on a podcast. Then an article. Then a video interview. Within 6 months, I was making more than my father's construction business. By the end of the year, I was being invited to speak at events they used to beg to get into. I refused all interviews that showed my face. I wanted peace, not fame, but fate had something else planned. Last week, I got an invitation. It was for my brother's baby shower, and written in gold letters, it said, family only. Let's reunite. I laughed. For the first time in 2 years. I actually laughed. I RSVP'd yes. But I wasn't going alone. The day of the event, I arrived late, not by accident, but by design. The whole hall paused when I walked in. Eyes widened. Mouths dropped. My mother clutched her pearls like she'd seen a ghost. My father stood frozen mid-sip. My brother's wife whispered something to him, her eyes darting to the person beside me, because I didn't walk in alone. I held my son on my hip, dressed in a little tuxedo, grinning like he owned the place. And right beside me was a woman in a sharp black blazer, my legal advisor. Not just any advisor, the same woman who'd once rejected my dad's company for a government contract. I kept walking, slow, steady, every step louder than a scream. My heels clicked against the marble like gunshots. All the people who once pretended I didn't exist? They were now staring like they'd seen a movie star. My mother stepped forward with a fake smile. You look different. I smiled back. Yeah, money does that. The silence? Beautiful. I walked over to the gift table and gently placed down a thick white envelope. My gift, I said. Might help with the baby's education. My father, face red now, hissed under his breath, You think you can buy your way back? I turned to him, locking eyes. I'm not buying my way back. I'm here to show you I never needed you to begin with. He scoffed. You think your little blog makes you something special? That's when my advisor stepped in, cool and calm. Actually, Mr. Reeves, she said, pulling out a folder, your daughter's company just signed a $4 million partnership with the Ministry of Labor. We're launching MomShift in 12 new countries next year. Gasps. Silence again. My brothers. Wife dropped her glass. My aunt almost fell off her chair. My mother just stood there, jaw open, makeup cracking as her expression shattered, and then I did the unthinkable. I took the mic. The room tensed, and I said, I want to thank my family for throwing me out when I needed them the most. Because without that pain, I'd never have built my empire. You didn't break me. You built me. I held up my son, and now, he will never need your approval. Because he was raised by a woman who learned how to build her own throne. I dropped the mic literally, and as I turned to walk away, a reporter outside snapped a photo of me and my son under the event banner. That photo? It went viral overnight. By morning, that photo had over 3 million views. The caption read, Single mom stuns family with $4 million reveal at brother's baby shower. My inbox was flooded, interviews, brand deals, TED Talk invites. Everyone suddenly wanted to know who I was. The same people who ignored me for 2 years were now tagging me in posts, pretending they'd always supported me, but the real twist was still coming. That afternoon, my brother showed up at my apartment. He didn't call. He didn't even knock properly. He just stood at my door, holding a fancy box and a forced smile. I brought something for the kid, he said, barely meeting my eyes. I didn't let him in. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. I didn't know Mom and Dad treated you like that, he mumbled. If I had, I would've. You did know. I cut him off. You were there. Every time. He looked down. They're not taking the backlash well. It's hurting the family name. I almost laughed. The family name? Oh, now you care about reputation? I said. When I was crying alone in a hospital bed, you were popping champagne at your wedding. He tried again. Look, maybe we can do a public post? You know, show we're all good now. Help both our images. There it was. The real reason he came. So I smiled, stepped aside, and said, Come in. Let me show you something. He walked in, looking around at my apartment, modern, bright, clean, filled with toys and awards and everything I'd built from nothing. I led him to the kitchen table, where a thick folder waited. What's this? He asked. I slid it toward him. Custody papers, I said calmly. Turns out Dad took a loan against Grandma's house last year. Defaulted. And guess who secretly bought the deed when it went to auction? He blinked. You? Yup, I smiled. So now I own the only property keeping Mom and Dad afloat. And unless they publicly apologize, video, not text, and sign a document clearing my name, they lose everything. His jaw dropped. You can't do that. I already did. He stared at me like I was someone else. And maybe I was. Not the girl they pushed around. Not the sister they ignored. Not the daughter they threw away now? I was the one in control. He didn't say a word for a full minute. Just stared at the papers like they were burning his hands. Then he whispered, They'll never agree to that. I leaned forward, calm, steady. They don't have a choice. Either they admit what they did, or they pack their things and leave that house by the end of the month. His face twisted, switching between anger and fear. You're turning into them. No, I said. I turned into everything they were afraid I'd become. Independent. Respected. Untouchable. He stood up, knocking the chair back. You've lost your mind. Maybe, I said, picking up my son from his playpen. But I never lost myself. By that night, my demands were trending on social media. A leaked email, conveniently slipped to a blogger, detailed everything, the loan, the property, the public apology condition. My inbox exploded again. The public was eating it up. Everyone loves a revenge arc, especially when the villain wears pearls and the hero wears baby spit up. 2 days later, I got the video. It was low quality. Shaky. But there they were, my parents, sitting stiffly on their living room sofa. My mother's eyes were swollen from crying, mascara streaks down her face. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years, the apology was cold, rehearsed. But it was public. And that was all I needed. I uploaded it to the MomShift blog under a post titled, Closure. The views went insane. People cheered. Comment sections were flooded with things like, "She's a queen," and "Imagine tossing out your future and watching her buy your house." But the most satisfying moment was a letter I received 2 weeks later. A handwritten note. No signature. Just 5 words: "You were always the strong one." I knew that handwriting. My grandmother, the one person who never stopped believing in me, even when she stayed quiet. She had passed away 3 years ago, but this letter? She must have written it back then, knowing one day I'd need it, and she was right, because in the end, they didn't break me, they built the storm. But I became the thunder.